Okay, here we are. I was thinking I've logged my other road trips, but I haven't logged the first road trip, which was driving the bike back home from near Daytona, where I bought it. So, and that was really my first time back, other than my BRC course. That was my first time back on a motorcycle in pretty well 30 years, maybe more. Probably more, actually, almost 35. Anyway, so it actually started uh, summer, I guess, 2019, if that. I guess it was 2019. I don't think it was all the way back in 2018. But anyway, my band does a headliner show for Royal Caribbean, so we're out at sea a lot, and we were doing a couple of Alaska cruises, and so I was we were docked in Skagway, and I'm traipsing around downtown Skagway. There happened to be a Harley dealer there, not dealer, rental place, and so I was kind of peeking in the window and kind of thinking about, wow, it would be pretty cool to jump on a bike and disappear into the Alaskan wilderness for an afternoon. That would be a really very cool experience. So I kind of, they wouldn't have rented me a bike anyway without my motorcycle endorsement on my license, but that thought really stuck with me, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought I started missing riding and being on a bike, and so it kind of was gnawing at me, enticing me, to remember what that felt like and how cool of a thing that was. So then I started thinking, if I did get a bike, then maybe I could do some road trips with Kurt, because Kurt has ridden his motorcycle like all over the country. I mean, like crazy distances, zigzagging the country. I mean, he'd go out to Utah to start an endurance rally. I mean, but I mean, I think that's awesome. Um, So I thought, wow, that could really be cool. And then, the various aspects. So, of course, I was watching YouTube after YouTube, just motorcycle stuff, just geeking out on motorcycle stuff and craving one the more that I got into it. And finally, I'm like, I have to do this, if not now, when, So it was, I don't know if I would quite say a bucket list item, but it was clear that it was important to me on some really deep gut level. So I just put the pieces in place and made it happen. And I shopped around a lot, spent most of my time looking at Cycle Trader and stuff within 400 miles of me, because I'm very specific in what I want. I did all the research that I could in terms of what would be the best bike for me to start on. And Kurt, right out of the gate, recommended the Vulcan 900, and I certainly took his recommendation seriously. But that wasn't the only bike I was looking at, and I didn't know what I didn't know. And I still don't know what I don't know, and I guess that'll always be true. Well, anyway, so it was true then. And so I was looking at bikes that I loved the looks of. So the first thing that I saw was a Honda Fury, and I'm like, that's the bike I want. But Kurt pointed out that it's a great looking bike, but it's going to be miserable on long distances. And it also has a tiny fuel tank, which I don't know, it's like less than 3 gallons, I think. I don't know, it's really small. It's not meant for long distance riding. I didn't appreciate that, at the time. I just didn't know enough to understand that. And then I was looking at the Honda State Line and Interstate, and those looked really good too, and they still look really good to me. Um, but nevertheless, the more research that I did, everything kept bringing me back to the Vulcan 900 in terms of being maneuverable, being very reliable, being inexpensive to buy and maintain, um, and being very forgiving and being very easy to ride and pretty widely recommended, if not as a beginner bike. And there were a lot of recommendations for it as a beginner bike, but is a little high side on, a little big for a beginner bike for most beginners. But I'm not really a beginner. I spent plenty of time riding as a kid and as a teenager and as a young man. So, but that said, I'm certainly not advanced. And so, anyway, so everything kept bringing me back to the Vulcan. So that's what I was looking for. And finally, I found an ad for a Vulcan 900 in Port Orange, Florida, at Integrity Auto Sales, which, the name itself almost put me off, because I'm thinking, like, when somebody says trust me, that's the person you got to really watch. I mean, that's my cynical view, but I'm very skeptical when it comes to places that assert that they're trustworthy, especially in their name and in their marketing. But at any rate, whatever. It was a beautiful bike. It was a 2008 in beautiful condition. I mean, it was just in pristine condition, and it only had 2,500 miles on it, which, for a bike like that, my perception, and I think it still is, it still is, 2,500 miles is practically a brand new bike. Just, barely broken in, really. So I was delighted to get that. And so it was going to take some doing. Obviously, I took my BRC course, and that was really cool. I learned a lot of stuff that I never knew when I was riding as a young man. So that was good. It wasn't just like, here you got to jump through these hoops and in order to get the piece of paper. I mean, it was genuinely valuable information. I'd say not only valuable but vital and important, and potentially life-saving. So it's a big deal. It's no joke. Anyway, so made arrangements, and I rented a car and drove up to Port Orange. It's about 200 miles roughly. I think it's just south of Daytona, but it's in that general area. And did the paperwork with a guy. And the guy, in the conversation I had with the salesman, I mentioned that I hadn't been on a bike in 30 years, and I think he was slightly, he had a little anxiety, slight anxiety. Anxiety is too strong a word, but he had a little bit of edginess about the topic, about the situation. But at any rate, so I said, in terms of a test drive, what have I got? What's the arrangement? And he said, well, you got it for a half an hour. If you can bring it back within a half an hour if it's not to your liking or whatever. But that's the deal. So I got on it and I wrote it. He's like, I can't watch you ride away. I can't watch you ride this thing. I'm too nervous with you being back on after 30 years. So he went inside and I rode away. And I have to say, I was a little nervous myself. I mean, I had never ridden a bike of that displacement before. Under anything, the biggest bike I had ridden before was my brother's Yamaha 600, which was a great bike, but this was a whole different animal. And but I got used to it enough and to feel like, okay, I can do this. So closed the deal and went home. First thing that I had to do was go to a gas station, and even that was just doing the slow speed maneuvers required in a gas station was a little daunting, as I was a little nervous. But again, I guess, what are you going to do? You just got to do it. So I did it, and rode it home. I was very happy to get on the interstate where I wouldn't have to do any more slow speed maneuvers. And but then the wind started hitting me, and I'm like, I'd never gone. Well, no, that's not true. But I was going to say I'd never gone that speed on a motorcycle, but that's just not true, because I had done so on my brother's 600. But certainly it had been a long time, and it was challenging. I didn't need a radio or whatever to keep me awake or alert. I mean, I was like wide-eyed and white-knuckled on the handlebars coming home. I was nervous, and it was physically challenging, to get through that. And I took some breaks. I was pretty generous with my breaks. Took as long as I needed, and just tried to set myself up for success. So that's pretty much, the journey home. It did a couple of weird things mechanically. So I would be going at like, I don't know, 75 miles an hour or so. And it would just suddenly start bogging down for no reason. I didn't change the accelerator. That was kind of weird. Did that a couple of times, but that was it. After I got it home, after a couple of days, I found this shop online that was really highly rated, called Rocket Ride Cycles or Rocket Cycles. Shoot, I don't remember now. The guy's name is Marco. And really highly rated, so I called and I talked to him. He seemed knowledgeable and whatnot, to my limited ability to assess that. Turns out his shop is 2 blocks from my house. So that's easy walking distance. So that was a tremendous convenience. So I dropped it off there, and he had it back to me, I think, the next day, and it was running like gangbusters. Well, it turns out it was only firing on, I had one bad spark plug. So, maybe Integrity Auto didn't go through it with a fine-tooth comb or whatever, I don't know. But at any rate, it got fixed, and it was running great after that. So that's pretty much my ride home story. I will say that one of the predominant thoughts the whole ride home was, I love this bike, but I hate these bars. I really disliked the riding position and the way that my hands and wrists felt in that position. But I knew I liked the bike and how it fit under me. I knew that my negative experience was really pretty isolated to my interface with the handlebars. So that really didn't put me off, and I was absolutely delighted to have it in the garage, which incidentally I had to I sold a few things, but I mainly gave away a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, that's really the story of the motorcycle purchase trip, in a fairly long-winded way, but it's my journal, so what the hey. All right, I think that about wraps it up.